Irvine, Laura from Georgetown. Hi, Laura. So many great folks from all across the country and the world. And just to give folks a little bit about who your presenter is today, I have to tell you that I love working with you guys, but Michael is one of the very best people I've ever met in this whole world, or any world for that matter. Because when I was guiding my start as a career coach back at University of Michigan Ross, and I see Kiera on the line there, go Wolverines, Kiera. Um, I was sort of trying to figure out like, hey, how do I make sure that I serve my students really well? How do I represent the opportunities to them? And Michael not only was helping his own students at UNC at the time, but he organized a whole trek of career coaches from across the country to come out to Silicon Valley, to go to Google and Facebook and all these places. And Michael, I got to tell you, from the very beginning, you have been this amazing presence in my life and the lives of your students. So thanks for all that you do.
Oh, no problem. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Those were some of the best times that we had with the career coaches going to different companies in Silicon Valley and not only learning about the companies, but also getting to know each other as individuals and career professionals. So that was a really great network that we began. That was back in 2016.
I know it feels like almost the Stone Ages compared to this new AI age we're living in. Um,
Exactly.
that being said, remind everyone, Michael, you are now leading the MQM program at the Fuqua School of Business at Duke. Is that right?
Exactly. Yes.
Okay. And for those who don't know, because I know there's so many acronyms in our world, it's like an analytically focused program. So people who are very much interested in this AI space. Is that right?
Exactly.
Okay. And so then, about a year ago or so, Michael and I were chatting about all these new AI technologies that have been coming out and I've been geeking out about. And Michael did a really rare thing. He didn't just sort of come to my workshop and say, "Oh, that's nice, Jeremy." He said, "How could we make this better?" And Michael proceeded to go out there and build these incredible bots that were above and beyond anything I'd built myself. And that's why I had to have Michael come sit with you today, because I want you to see, hey, this is not just crazy old Jeremy's ideas. These are actual coaches out there in the world building their own bots, helping their students be super successful. So I'm blown away by you, Michael. And in true fashion, I've got to start by giving everyone a heads up of where we're headed. So we're going to look at some of Michael's bots today. We're going to learn how to build your own bots. You're going to get a chance to get your hands dirty and to ask questions. But of course, I have to start with the pop quiz, former kindergarten teacher that I am. So, quick question for you. If you could build your very own Jane bot or K bot or Kiera bot, what would you want to focus on to save a lot of time and to help your students or your alums? Would it be A, career exploration? Let me just help those students find that North Star because they can get so lost sometimes. Or maybe it's the next stage. I need to help them with their resumes and cover letters because frankly, it's driving me crazy taking out that red pen and circling all the things that are wrong. Or maybe it's that final stage. I really need to help students get better at interviews because that's what's standing in their way. So let's check out the results here. I love, by the way, that Andy Chan over in North Carolina, Michael, says all of these. Totally get that. Kay is saying C over at UW. Go Huskies. Deepika's saying B. Brendan's saying A. Alan's saying A. Julie's saying B. Really, my takeaway here is that we need help in all these areas. And here's the cool thing. Michael has built bots from start to finish. But before we get into the career focused bots like career advisor and interview prep, Michael, do you mind sharing your screen and telling folks about the very first bot you built to get your hands dirty?
Yes. So can you see,
Yeah,
okay,
absolutely.
can you see my screen?
Yeah. And so Michael is right now inside ChatGPT, but unbeknownst to a lot of folks, you can actually use ChatGPT not just to prompt it, but to build your own bot. So tell folks about what you built here, Michael.
So I took a class with Jeremy. I don't know, I think it was in April or sometime last year, and I didn't know anything about AI. And it was an hour class. I think it was like during lunchtime. And Jeremy was going really quickly about how he can do a bot, do a chat bot. He was going through it really quickly. And it seemed really exciting, but it seemed rather unattainable for me because I didn't know anything about, doing, a chat GPT bot. Yet on Friday, which was the day after, I decided to spend the afternoon just playing around with it and getting my hands dirty. But I didn't want to go immediately to like a career chat bot because that was just too complicated. Like I didn't know. And so I thought, well, what is something I really know about that I'm very passionate about? And I absolutely love classical music. I mean, to me, classical music is like next to like next to heaven. It gives me glimpses of what heaven will be like, and that is how much I. The unfortunate thing is anytime I go to a classical music concert or I go to an opera, the average age is like 70 or 75, which is so sad because I think that opera has, or classical music and opera have something to share with anyone, no matter what your age is. And so I decided to build my first um, bot, which was like classical music maker, matchmaker. Initially, I asked a question like, hey, if you like this piece of classical music, you may like this piece of classical music. But then I thought, well, that's the wrong question because there's so many people who have no idea what classical music is like and the beauty of it. So I decided to say, okay, based on the music that you like currently, it doesn't matter what it is. It could be music from the 50s, it could be music from the 2020s. You pick your top three pieces of music that you like. They could be specific songs, they could be specific artists, and then this music matchmaker will give you piece of classical music which will match what you currently like. It doesn't matter what, and it'll give you the reason why you will like that. So let me give you. So I really like U2 from the 80s and um and the Police. Okay,
And I'm just going to
so
encourage
I
other
put
people,
this in.
if you've got something that you want to try, throw your favorite bands into the chat and we can run those next. But yeah, go for it, Michael.
So I put this, and I put a specific songs, based, which I really like. And what happened, it gave me pieces of classical music that I had not heard of. And they were mostly like modern classical music from the 20th century and from the early 21st century. And I put these pieces of music and I listened to them, and it was as if I had learned or I had listened to classical music for the first time when I was a kid. It was
Wow.
that transformative. The reasons and I was completely blown away from that. And that's what initially got me really, really excited. So I would suggest if doing an chat AI bot is intimidating for you, find something that you really, really enjoy. Like it could be like baseball. Hey, I'm really into baseball or whatever, and try to make a bot, and then you'll understand the power of it and the insight that you can get from it, and it'll give you motivation to do other more complicated bots.
I love
So
that.
anyway, these are just some of the pieces. Unfortunately, there are no 21st century because I wasn't specific enough. But there's pieces of 21st century classical music that it did give me. I listen, I've listened to it for like the past 8 months. And
Whoa.
every time I listen to it, I just get really excited. So I would just say start with something that you're really passionate about. I think it'll just to get your feet wet and give you some confidence so that you can do some chatbots that are, outside of your area of passion.
I just want to call it something really powerful here, Michael. How long did it take you to build this bot?
I don't know, like an hour, hour and a half.
Yeah. And so we're not talking about like you spent an entire semester building this out. This is like purely like getting your hands dirty, trying a couple things, and then bam, you've got this incredible thing. Now, Labar's got a great question in the chat. And by the way, feel free to ask questions in the chat, raise your hand, even on mute if you prefer. Is a bot the same as an agent? So I don't know if you want to speak to that, Michael, based on this burgeoning agent space that everyone's talking about.
So I am not sure what an agent is. All I know is that I go into the platform that I use is ChatGPT, and we have here at the Fuqua School of Business we have a premium account which you pay $20 a month for, and with that account you can make your own custom ChatGPT, which are AI bots. And so I'm
Yeah.
not sure what an agent is.
And I'll just speak to it from the perspective of what everyone's talking about in the Silicon Valley crazy world that I live in, is agents are essentially the next generation of AI, where instead of having to like go back and forth in this conversation, they could just go out into the internet and do something for you. So imagine in the career context, they could basically go online, find all the best jobs, put them into a spreadsheet, generate resumes that are really optimized for that, and even apply if you told it to. That's the dream anyway. Now, as you will see in the New York Times link that I just shared, even the latest tools that OpenAI is charging $200 a month for still are pretty lousy. So I don't think we're quite there yet. But I think in terms of saving time with your students, where you can give them a tool they can use right out of the box, excuse me, this is exactly what Michael is sharing. And this is what we want to focus on for today's session until these agents are really ready for prime time. Okay, so Michael, We're going to get to some of the questions about how do we build this bot? How do we find bots like this? Before we get there, do you want to show some of the career focused ones just to give people a sense of where they can go once they dip their toe in the water?
Exactly. So let me bring up the career advisor bot.
All right.
Um,
And prepare to have your minds blown, y'all. Like when I saw some of these, I was like, wait a second. How come I didn't have that when I was coaching students? So share away.
all right. Okay.
Yeah, Michael is putting us all work. So it's
All right.
interesting. Um,
Can can you
Michael,
see can
bef
you see it?
yeah, before we get it, we have to tackle the elephant in the room. And I think Kristen put it out there so beautifully. You're the one who's actually building these bots. Do you feel threatened by them? Do you feel like they're endangering the livelihood of all these great coaches on the line?
That is a great question. I think that it enables us. I think it does two things. One, it's an on-demand resource that our students can use when we coaches are not in the office from like Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. And so I think, it's great for that. The other thing is that when it's an augmentation and it allows us coaches to provide much higher level conversations than what these AI bots can provide. And so I think it's a really great foundation that we could provide or tool that we could provide our students so that when we do meet with them and they've gone through some of these bots that we've provided, we can have much higher level conversations, which is really what I prefer much more. I prefer to be challenged and to be asked questions that an AI model right now is unable to answer.
I love that. So like AI is not going to be able to help you figure out what to do with your life, but it can certainly help you do some of the like basic stuff of like, here, let's get you organized in terms of companies that are available. Let's get you focused on alumni that you can reach out to. And so to sort of show that, Michael, explain what this first spot is, and then give a little demo if you don't mind.
Right. And so this bot is so, a lot of times we'll have students who come and say, Michael, I don't know what jobs would be a good fit for me, you know, and I go, okay, well, all you need to do is why don't you start off with this particular bot? And so what this bot does, it asks for your resume, and you can provide it in PDF or Word format. Provide number two, what are some of your interests? Like, are there particular industries that you're interested in? Are there particular, things that you really want your job to have? Like you want a job that you make a lot of money, but you have minimal stress. And then number three is what are 3 to 5 strengths? And those could be technical strengths, or they could be soft, skills. Maybe you're really good at Tableau, and maybe also you're just, whenever you're in a team environment, you're the point person which everyone goes to and looks to synthesize all the differing opinions that are out there, and you can bring all these differing points of view onto one path. And so you put those. And so what I'll do is I'll put a student's resume that I worked with last year. So I put his resume, and I know that he was really into retail and consumer goods. So I'll put retail, CPG, um, and he was really good at. He had very strong communication skills, and he wanted to, work in teams. And then he was also really good at Tableau. And so what this does is it uses the information from his resume, his interest and his skills, and it will provide him with around like, 10 roles, at most 10 roles, all bounded by the last 5 years of offers, either companies and functional areas that our students have. Because what I don't want it to do is to provide, oh, based on the information you provided, I think you'd be a really great performer for Cirque du Soleil, or you'd be a really great pitcher, for the Major League Baseball. Well, that may be fine and good, but that's not really what our program, the Masters of Quantitative Analytics, is really designed to provide, jobs for. So
And I just
let's
wanted to
just,
stop there because I think this is really the big unlock. Like people have probably seen me, go to ChatGPT and say, here are my strengths, here are my skills, what should I do with my life? And it can recommend stuff. But Michael has trained this behind the scenes on the actual offers and alumni paths of his program. So this truly is the personalized promise of AI, not just a large language model based on global data, but a really personalized model based on Fuqua data. So I think this is powerful.
Right. And so this is the output. These are based on offer data that our students in our program have received in the last 5 years. In fact, I need to update this for the class of 2024. So these are some of the companies that our alums have received offers in. And these are some of the recommended job titles that would be a really good fit based on the person's resume, his interests and strengths, bounded by the offer data for the past 5 years.
I love it. And so
And so it
now
says,
people
and
have a
then,
mil. Sorry to interrupt, Michael. People already have a million questions. They're like, I want this for my school. So Laura over at Georgetown is saying, how many years of data did you feed your bot? Like, how much did you need to make it really strong and effective?
well, I just used the past 5 years from
Okay.
2019 to 2023.
Yeah.
So you can put up to like, I don't know, you with ChatGPT, you can put up to 10 files, each file being, I don't know how many megabytes or
Right.
that you can put.
But I think what you did is smart, Michael, because obviously you could have gone back 30 years if the MQM program had existed. But obviously, a lot of those trends from 30 years ago would be irrelevant for students in 2025. You tried to really sort of contain it to things that were going to be relatable to students today. Is that right?
Exactly. And then
Cool.
so with this, and I'll show you so it says, hey, based on your skills and interests, these are some, and then I also have it trained. So given that these are the companies it recommends and these are the job titles, then you can click on another AI bot that I've created, which is the MQM Alumni Connector. So you click on this particular bot, and then you can put in one or more companies, and you could put in job titles, and it'll provide you with a list of MQM alums with their first name and last name, their current company, and their past companies, and their LinkedIn profile. Right.
Wow. So it generates a
So
table just like that?
exactly, it will
Yeah.
generate a table.
Um, Someone was asking, do you mind if you either expand your window or blow up
Oh,
the text a little bit just so we can see a little better? I
expand
think
my
everyone's
window.
like, I want to see it. Yeah, that's awesome.
Is that good enough? Or
Yeah, I
do
think
you need
also if you do
to?
like Command Plus, if you have a
Oh,
um,
I have
Mac,
an
yeah,
Apple. Oh,
yeah, there you go.
gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay, sorry.
beautiful, beautiful. Thank you. That's great. Okay, so now the questions are flooding in here, Michael. So let's take them on if you're a game. Um, Deborah wanted to confirm these are offers from students and alums from Fuqua only, and
Only
if
Fuqua only,
so,
yes,
how did you
because I
put them
have
in?
no access.
Yeah.
This data comes from 1220. So
Okay.
that I don't know if people may have different systems, but we use 1220 to put the students or us put in the offer data.
Yeah. Okay, so definitely your own custom data, which is awesome. We can show how to do it in just one moment. Now, here's the big question where the rubber hits the road. Deepika and Natalie both want to know how do students actually get access to this thing? How do you share it?
Oh, how do I share? Oh, so we have a specific link that we
Yeah,
provide. So the CMC office has the premium ChatGPT, but anyone else, students or anyone on the outside, all they need to do is just have an account. They can have a free account with ChatGPT and they can access these particular bots,
absolutely. And so this
and
is
they
a
can
big
use it
thing
for
is
free.
like in the past, I've skewed away from showing this because I said, hey, not every career coach has access to ChatGPT Plus. But I would love to get a sense. If you don't mind coming to the chat, let us know yes or no. Do you have access to ChatGPT Plus today? So just a quick sort of sense of where people are at. Wow, a lot of yeses. Definitely some no's as well. Okay, so I think some people may already be ready. And just to really emphasize what Michael said, only you need to have ChatGPT Plus. Your students can have the absolute free version. Just you as the creator need to be paying for it. And that is 20
And
bucks a month.
this is only in the past 6 months. So what happened before and previous to the last 6 months, ChatGPT you could only use custom ChatGPTs if you had a premium account. But then I think ChatGPT came to their senses. If they want to expand their users, they would have to allow anyone to use custom ChatGPTs.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we're getting to the point where I think maybe we should do an actual demonstration to show how to build these. A couple final questions though. Kristen wants to know what's the connection to the data? Is it coming from LinkedIn data, 1220 data? Is it like a seamless thing back and forth, or is it just like an Excel file?
Right.
Yeah,
So
let's get into the
let's
good
go
stuff. Yeah.
let's go how I built the
Yes. Here we go.
okay. So can everyone see this configure?
Yep.
So you have two choices when you want to configure. You can actually create it, in which you just press this create tab and then you type in some instructions. So I generally when I start something, I'll just do the create tab and then when I want to be more specific and I want to refine it, then I go to the configure and I fine tune how I want. And so I always start off with create and then I do configure and it says like what do you want the name for your AI bot to be. Okay, so I put this, and then after you do that, then under the Create tab, ChatGPT will provide a picture
I
of
know.
what and you could say yes or no, or you want it different, and so it does that. Generally, it provides a description, but I always refine the description exactly what I want our students or our audience to see. And so I say, hey, this is what this ChatGPT, this AI bot will do. You need to you need to do these things, one, two, and three. Okay. And these are instructions. This is a combination of what ChatGPT has recommended, and then I refined it specifically to what um, you know, the details that I want it to have as an output. The most important thing is that the knowledge, this is knowledge.
Knowledge. Yes.
This is the knowledge files that you actually put. And so what I've done is I went and I downloaded from 1220 all the offers without the names, without the salaries. I just said, just give me the name of the company, the class which that offer was given, and the functional area, and I will do a PDF file. So I just threw the PDF file, you know, and I said, and the instructions are, I want you to based on the resume that the student inputs, the interest and strengths, I want you to go through this knowledge file and I want you to pick, 5 to 10 companies and 5 to 10 roles that align with the inputs that our students put in. And so it's going to go through this specific file. So this is where the
Yeah.
custom part
And I also
of
noticed, and this is key, Michael, you did not click web search because you don't want it going off the reservation, so to speak, and
right,
pulling
as
in
I
random
mentioned,
data from the
yeah, I don't
internet.
want them to say, hey, you would be a great person for a Cirque du Soleil role or a
Right,
family
right.
picture, because our program is not really designed.
Yep.
I want to make sure that we focus on, companies and functional areas that are realistic to our students who are in this program.
Okay.
Recent
So
past is probably the best indicator of future, results.
So everyone now you've got everyone completely on edge, Michael. Like every single question is like, how did you get there? How do you do this? How can I do it? I think it's time to really try out a real session. So, Michael, I'm going to take back the screen share for 1 second. Michael, do you mind putting in the share link just in the chat though, so people can see that and try it on their end?
Put in the link of
Yeah,
this.
yeah. Is
Oh,
that okay?
gotcha.
Just so
Okay.
people can see what it looks like and feels like.
Okay,
Um,
gotcha.
and what we're going to do next, and this is really where it's going to get exciting, is we are going to get you guys building your own bot now in this moment. And so, um, first of all, quick pop quiz just to set things up here. When you think about building your own bot and you're like, oh my goodness, Michael, you just blown my mind. Which of these is still your roadblock? Is it A, everything about AI freaks me out because it's going to try to steal my job? B, I'm still stuck on this whole platform question. ChatGPT, Gemini, Party Rock, or maybe even the C piece of, hey, what about FERPA? What about data privacy? What about all that stuff? So, what's standing in your way? And I see a lot of different answers coming in. Megan says B, platform for sure. Quillen says B and C. Michael says B. Catherine says C. Trisha says C. Folks are feeling like, oh my goodness, this is like imposter syndrome. I'm supposed to be an expert on this, but I haven't even scratched the surface. With that being said, let's start scratching. So here we go. Um, if you want to try to build your own bot now, and this is, by the way, a no judgment zone. We're all going to try this together. I would love for you to raise your hand in Zoom right now. Whoever raises their hand first, we'll get to go one on one with Michael and yours truly, and we'll figure this out together. And you'll have all the support and love of your colleagues. So if you want to brag to your classmates or to your colleagues and to your dean about the incredible things you built, this is your chance. Just raise your hand and we will work on a bot in real time. So who's going to be our first volunteer here? Is it going to be Andy? Is it going to be Adam? Is it going to be Claudio or Deb? It looks like it's going to be Lauren. Yes, Lauren Gallagher. Come on down. You are our next contestant on this AI game show. Um, Lauren, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, good. Remind everyone where you're calling from, Lauren.
I'm from UIC, University of Illinois, Chicago.
Beautiful. Okay. I was just talking to your colleagues over at Northwestern before. What's the weather like in Chicago today?
It's kind of gloomy and
Yeah,
cold,
it figures. I guess you would be surprised if it was anything else, right?
but
Okay, so Lauren, throw down the gauntlet. What is something that really kind of bugs you about the coaching world in terms of like, oh, I'm doing the same thing over and over again. What if I could just have my students self-serve and that way we can actually talk about those bigger conversations like Michael mentioned?
yes. I work with liberal arts and sciences students, and so they don't know where to find opportunities, and I feel like I'm just kind of going through the basics in all of our appointments.
Oh, I feel like this is the ultimate use case. I say that as a liberal arts grad myself, poli sci in education. If I had had AI back in the day, I would have been like 10 years ahead of schedule because I wouldn't be wandering in the desert just trying to find myself. Now, if we could give that same career clarity to every liberal arts student and every student, imagine how powerful that would be. So, Michael, be sure to guide me here. We're going to get Lauren started and we're going to use ChatGPT. And again, if you have ChatGPT Plus, you can do this right now. Alternatively, if you don't have ChatGPT Plus, you can do something very similar on Party Rock. And anyone who's been to any of my sessions in the past will recall that Party Rock is actually Amazon's version that allows you to build your own tools and it doesn't even cost a cent. So when you see Michael and I talking about generating apps, you just come over here and you type it in here. So whether you're using ChatGPT, Party Rock, fairly similar to get started. Okay, here's first thing. We're going to open the sidebar. And then over here on this left-hand side, we're going to say explore GPTs. And just to give you a sense of the parlance, what ChatGPT calls the space is so confusing because they call it GPTs inside ChatGPT, but basically just think of this as the stuff that you're going to make, your own personal bots. And what you want to do in particular is not just explore someone else's bots, although there are a lot of interesting ones, but actually build your own. Okay, Lauren, are you ready to take the plunge?
Yeah.
Let's do it. Okay. Oh, yeah, of course. Content failed to load. Wouldn't that be perfect? Okay, we're going to go to create. And Michael, is this exactly how you did it? Did you start in the create mode?
Exactly. I always start in the create mode.
Yeah. And for anyone out there who's following along on your screen, if we go too fast or if you want me to repeat a step, just stop me at any point. Feel free to unmute. Otherwise, I'll assume everyone's sort of got the flow. But again, we're creating our new bot. We click create, and it says, hey, I want to build something for you. What would you like to make? And I think this is the part that I love about these tools, Michael, is you don't need coding, you don't need SQL. You just use plain English. So Lauren, spell it out for us. What would you like to make that would free up a lot of time for you and help your students?
Okay, so working with liberal arts and sciences students, they struggle to figure out where they can find experience, where they can apply for internships, where they can find research opportunities. And
Yeah.
because liberal arts and sciences is a wide range of interests.
Yeah. All right. And you can almost use it as therapy, Lauren. You can say like, hey, I'm lying on the couch over here. My job is driving me crazy. So many different degrees. It's hard to figure out the right path. Okay. Now, do you want to leave it there or do you want to be even more sort of prescriptive in terms of what you want it to do? Because we could try either way.
I would like for it to be more specific.
Okay. And so would you say like our goal here is to help students find a variety of options or to choose the right path? Like what's the end outcome?
I would say our the goal would be to give students a list of opportunities that they could apply for immediately.
Ooh, so not even just like ideas at the theoretical level, like literal
What
opportunities
is available? Yes.
that they could apply for immediately. Okay, this is great. So I'm going to put this prompt in the chat, not because I want you necessarily to slavishly copy it, but just to see this is not like, a Shakespearean sonnet. It's flat out, here's my challenge, here's my goal. Okay, we're going to start with that. Michael, anything else you would add before we go ahead with that prompt?
No, I think this is great to start off with because then it'll provide a little more guidance that you can then refine. And then we can refine it even more with specific data from your school in the configure tab.
And just to sort of bring it home for the Party Rock folks out there, you would literally just type the same thing into Party Rock and click generate. And so you can see Party Rock is working on it. In the meantime, we'll do the same over here in ChatGPT land. Okay, so we're running this thing, and you can see that in real time, it's kind of building this bot as it tries to get a sense of what you need. And again, we're going to have a chance to interface with it and start to talk about it. Okay. And the thing I love about this, Michael, is it starts with the easy stuff, right? The fun stuff, the name, the picture, before getting into the really hard things. So what do you think about this name, Lauren? UIC Career Navigator. Do you feel like that nails it, or are we looking for something a little more
What if we
exciting?
called it like internship finder?
Okay. And of course, you remember this is like a prompt. So you can say, what are five more creative options, right? It's almost like a brainstorming buddy. Liberal arts launchpad, UIC career compass, a little bit of alliteration. Any of those stand out, or you'd rather go with internship finder?
Liberal arts launchpad.
All right, beautiful. And by the way, Chloe, I saw that question in the chat. Chloe's actually one of Michael's colleagues over at Duke. You can absolutely change the name anytime, so nothing is set in stone. Okay, so we're going to go with liberal arts launchpad, but we reserve the right to change that. And then, of course, because they want to show off, they want to generate a little profile picture. And of course, ChatGPT has Dolly baked in. Now, Michael, did you spend a lot of time on the pictures or did you tend to skip over this? What was your sense of whether it mattered to students?
It depended. If the picture was really off from like the overall theme that I wanted, that I would just say, can you refine this part of the picture? But generally, I only spent like a few minutes because they normally came up with a pretty good picture.
Okay, cool. And I'll just mention, and this is sort of putting the cart before the horse, but there are two ways to share these bots once you've built them. One is just through the link. So essentially, only Fuqua MQM students would know about it, or only Chicago UIC liberal arts students would know about it. Also, if you decide maybe you want to go big and get rich out there, you could actually put your bot publicly into the store, and maybe that helps build your brand as a career leader or a career coach. But bottom line, just know that there are different ways to share, just like with Google Docs. Okay, you're back. Let's see where we left off. Um, do you have my picture ready? Maybe there are too many people using it right now, Michael. Did you run into any bugs when you were doing this?
Never on the picture portion.
Okay. All right, so it's still generating the profile picture. Obviously, we can skip the profile picture if it doesn't generate.
Maybe
Um,
the AI, maybe the custom chat GPT is nervous because there's so many eyeballs
I
looking at the
know.
device.
It's got performance pressure, huh? Okay, we'll have to treat it well, right, Lauren?
Mhm.
Give it some praise. And you can see while it's generating this picture that it's actually generated these initial sort of starter prompts, if you will. Now, Michael, how did you think about these prompts? Like, did you see this as the main way that students would interface, or just sort of examples to get students started?
I generally had my own prompts because I wanted to be very focused on what I wanted the answers. Yeah, I don't know why. I've never had this happen before.
Yeah, Andy said I too was having the same problem. So yeah, phew, it's not just us. Thank you for confirming, Andy. Okay, we'll skip the picture. But now let's get to the good stuff. If we go to the configure section, what we will see is that it has actually taken our brief. You can think of this as kind of like, you pitching a marketing agency, like Don Draper on Mad Men or something. They took your brief and they ran with it. Here's our description. Here are the instructions for the bot. Here are these conversation starters. We'll call it that liberal arts launchpad. Now, essentially at this point, it's still basically just ChatGPT with some prompts laid over it. And so at this point, what would you recommend, Michael, if we want to make this super useful for Lauren and her students?
Yeah, so then I would say, okay, what is your repository where students put their outcome data? So for example, I think for Big Duke, I think their undergrads use Handshake. And so I would say, okay, if Handshake, what data is in Handshake? Does it have the student's name? Does it have their major? And does it have like the internships that they've had, if they can put that in? And so I would say or it could be maybe every individual department, like I don't know how UCI has, but does the School of Liberal Arts or the English department does it have a repository of like files where they keep track of students and what their outcomes are
Yeah.
for internships and full-time jobs? You can load that information in,
Yeah.
and you don't even have to put in the student's name. You can just put in, okay, this was their major, and these were their some internships that they had, and this was their final job when they graduated.
Yeah.
So
So
I would
Lauren,
look for,
do you have like that first destination report handy, either like on the web somewhere, or is that a file that you have access to?
We have it on the web for the whole university. I have
Yeah.
kind of my little homegrown thing, but I
Yeah.
think
What
you
if
should
we
be able
say
to
like
access
US
it through
UIC
first
first
destination.
destination
Hmm.
survey, something like that? Let's see if we can find something that we can grab real quick. Office of Institutional Research. Here we go. Okay, I don't know if they're going to give us the actual data. Oh, here, maybe graduate outcomes. Ah, yes. Okay. So we're going to do this just as an example. And obviously, this is not, the be all and end all, but it's just an example of how it works. So here's all this information, not just about the high level, but the specific sort of places they went, the specific industries, maybe even list some of the specific employers. Now we're getting somewhere, right, Lauren?
Hmm.
So what we're going
yeah,
to do is we're going to download this. I'm just going to download it right to my hard drive. And then we come right back to ChatGPT and we upload that file. Now, here's the big part where ChatGPT and Party Rock sort of go off in different directions because Julie was asking this. Can you upload files to Party Rock? Unfortunately, not yet, Julie. And that's why Michael ended up choosing ChatGPT when he was making his fork in the road decision. That being said, there's
actually
a,
you can. So
oh, is
Julie, you
there?
can
Yeah.
put the unfortunate thing is that there's a limit, and
Because
unfortunately
you
that
have to
limit
paste
is
it in, right,
very it's a
Michael?
very small limit.
Yeah. Right. So like a lot of times in these Party Rock versions, like they will give you the prompt and you could come in here and you could flat out list all the things. But like Michael said, it's so much more limited than a giant PDF file, which is just like a big kind of wah wah when you're trying to build something awesome. So yeah, that is a limitation of Party Rock. Okay, that being said, back to you, Lauren. We're so close to prime time. We've got the data from 2017. I think one of the things we have to do is we have to tell it to use that data, right? Is that right, Michael?
Exactly. So just
Okay.
say, please, in this case, because there's so few data points in the knowledge file that she's uploaded, say, please first use this. And
Ah, I
then
love that.
after, first reference this knowledge file.
Yeah, please use
And
the
after,
2017 student outcomes knowledge file when looking for opportunities
right,
before going on the internet.
exactly.
Okay. Does this make sense so far, Lauren? And are there questions from anyone out there? Anything on your end, Lauren?
No, this is awesome.
Okay, so we got that. We're gonna tell it to look on the web, do images if it needs to. What
Okay,
and then
before
yeah,
we go
before
on,
Michael.
what I
Yeah.
want to say before we go on, so for example, like if you have limited information, I think there are a lot of universities where they may have limited information or they can't find who the keeper of all the data is. Put as much as you can in the knowledge files. And then at the next step, you could be, okay, there may be another university which has, like, let's just say, I'm just making this up, Northwestern. Let's say Northwestern has like all this great data, on a file somewhere. You could upload that. Or let's just say it's not in a file that you can download. You can say, okay, then step number two, after looking at the knowledge file that's here, then look at this particular website. Like let's say
Mm.
it's Northwestern, and then evaluate that. And then afterwards, you can go to the general web.
Yeah, because again, that is a limitation, especially on Party Rock, I've noticed, is it doesn't seem to really go on the internet. Whereas ChatGPT, as we've all seen in the last year, now can go to whatever site you tell it to go if you give it the specific URL. So that's great, Michael. So you could say before going on the internet to look at uic.edu or whatever it is, right?
Right. Or
So yeah,
Northwestern, whatever.
yeah, totally. Okay. Now, here's the really cool thing. Before you launch this to anyone, and by the way, it's totally private when you first create it, you can actually try it over here in the preview side. So let's do a test run. Lauren, what do you think would be a good initial prompt just to sort of put yourself in your student shoes?
I'm a psych student
Mhm.
and I don't know what I want to do with my life.
I'm a psych student. What should I do with my life? Classic. Okay, here we go. And remember, this is so key to AI. I think there was someone before who was saying one of their big impediments is they're worried about like not knowing how to use these things or breaking things. With AI, you can't break anything. Everything is just sort of learning and developing as you go along. And so it says, based on the class of 2017 first destination report, hey, here's some employment in various fields. Here's where they went on to, gives you the stats. Even without really good data, it feels kind of cool. What's your take on this, Lauren?
That's awesome. I'm curious if students wanted to know like exactly who's working at Shirley Ryan Ability Lab, but we don't
Yeah, for
have
sure.
that data.
Yeah.
Can
Okay,
they
that's
pull it
great.
from like a LinkedIn
Yeah.
or something like that?
Who is at Shirley Ryan from UIC? And we'll just see what's going to happen because, better for us to test it really exhaustively and make sure it's great. Okay. So the report doesn't list specific individuals. And so they may, try to go out and get some information. But it's not going to be quite that detailed if we don't have the data to go on. So that's, yeah, great call out. Okay. Now, I know we're running a little short on time, so I do want to sort of show you this next step. What you would do at this point, once you're like, hey, this feels pretty good, is you're going to go ahead and click create. And then this is where it has that Google Docs like feel. Three options. Only me. I'm keeping this totally private. Anyone with a link. So essentially, you're sharing just with your students, Lauren, but you don't want it out there in the world. Or if you're really ready for prime time, GPT store, because you want to flex your coaching muscles to the rest of the world. So for you, Lauren, and for everyone on the line, I'm going to go with anyone with a link. I'm going to click save. And then once I have a copy of that link, I'm going to actually share it right in the chat. So if anyone wants to try this thing, they can start using it immediately. So Lauren, I don't know if you had us on a timer, but how long do you think we spent on that tool?
20 minutes?
Yeah, 20 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Again, maybe not perfect yet, but you can see how you can start to build really slowly. And this goes back to Michael's point with the music tool. Just get your hands dirty. Just sort of dig in a little bit, see what it feels like. Okay, Lauren, any final questions for Michael as for how you would refine this or how to make it even more useful for your students?
So, you mentioned that you kind of just share the link with students and as long as they have a free account, they can use this. But do you provide them any prompts or do you give them any direction? I have a lot of students who are very hesitant to use AI and have never used it and all that. So I'm curious how you coach them to use it.
So normally, I will provide the prompt, and then I provide like a 2 or 3 line description of what it does. And so when they click on it, then they get the Chat GPT, and then I provide one or more 1 to 3 questions, which guide them step by step on what to put into the message or the prompt box in order to get a result.
And one thing I'll just call out is I do think the conversation starters can be really useful because we know our students aren't
Yeah,
going to read instructions, they're not going to pay attention, but at least in the sense that we can control the interface, we
exactly.
could have these be our four most important questions. Like, how do I figure out my most important skills or whatever it is? If you want students to really start with that process, feel free to really put it right there on their screen, right where they can see it. Is that helpful, Lauren?
Super helpful.
Okay, Lauren, you were awesome. Everyone, you got to give Lauren some love. She rocked the house today. Lauren, you represented UIC, City of Chicago, so beautifully. Go Windy City. Okay. I know we've got a bazillion questions out there, so let's start to take some. I'll just go in reverse order here. Um, Claudio says, this is an interesting question, Michael. Where do we go to find a list of great prompts to be shared with students? And I think what Claudio is getting at here is again, if we just tell students to go to ChatGPT, they're going to end up doing this, the stuff the students are already doing, where they say, generate a cover letter for Google and they're actually using AI the exact wrong way.
Right.
They're making themselves commodities, right? Instead of standing out, they're blending in with everyone else, and that's hurting their chances. So, what's your recommendation, Michael, for steering students in the right direction, either with prompts, with these tools? What's your sense?
So I try to be very specific in in um, in the tool that I'm making. So, for example, for the um, I have one called one thing that our students always request is I need a checklist of things to do in order to do my job search. Like they a roadmap of sorts. And so, and so I'm so how I come up with a good prompt is I put myself in the student's shoes and I go, okay, I'm a student and and then I go, well, when is the student going to ask this question? Is the student going to ask this question in fall one? In which case they're probably looking for consulting investment banking jobs. Or is the student asking this question in like in January, February, in which case they're looking for more just-in-time jobs. And so or is the student really focused on these are the type of companies that I'm interested in. And so as such, what's my roadmap? And so I come up with the prompts based on pretending I'm a student, but also trying to bound the answers in a way that makes the outcome very valuable to them. I don't know if I'm answering that
Yeah, yeah, no.
really
I
well,
think
but
I'm going to make a very sort of controversial argument. I think that if you look at where the world is headed, it's super clear to me that ChatGPT and AI and all these things are not a flash in the pan, even if they're not fully baked yet, but they are going to be the future, the skills that our students need when they're out there 5, 10 years from now. And so the question is not just giving them the right prompts today, but teaching them how to use these tools the right way. And I think the real beauty of the things that Michael has built is he's modeling what good AI usage is, exploring opportunities, researching different roles, not just spitting out really bad cover letters. And I think if we can kind of
and
walk
I
the
do
talk
not
for our
use
students,
I
yeah,
don't have a prompt for cover letters. The reason why
yeah,
is because a chat GPT generated cover letter has no soul because it
yes,
doesn't
it's true.
really replicate
It's true.
your perspective.
Yeah. Like it's like literally like Mad Libs over here. Okay.
Exactly. It
Yeah.
means nothing. It's gibberish and it doesn't give me insight into that person's
Yeah.
feelings and how they see the world.
Now, huge questions from Deepika and from Quilin. And that is, Deepika wants to know, do we get to know how many users used our bot? Quilin wants to know, is there a way for students to share that page with their career coach later? Like, how do these actually work in your workflow and sort of get that kind of impact that you need versus, oh, it's a nice little gadget out there in the world?
So I every single day I see how many people have used the bot. So for example, the most popular bot has like over 200 users have
Wow.
used it.
Okay.
And then like other ones like over 60 and 50. So I every day I can see how many people have used that particular bot. I'm sad to say that the classical music bot only has like 40 users.
Oh, okay, Michael, you've got to share the classical music bot in the chat. We got to boost that up. I know there's some classical music fans here. And can you see that, Michael, like just in your dashboard, like under um my GPTs? Is that where you're looking?
No, I'm looking under Explore GPTs.
Oh, okay, under Explore
When I
GPTs.
look at all my GPTs, I can
Got
see
it.
like how many people
Ah, yeah,
have
yeah.
used.
I'll
Yeah.
just put this link in the chat. So if anyone has built any of these bots, you can see. Obviously, it's not quite like perfect in the sense of like you don't have the full transcript of every chat. You can't just go back and like look at it in 1220, but at least it gives you a sense of what's popular, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's great. Okay, let's see here. These are great questions. Ooh, this is really good from your colleague over on the engineering side, Chloe. How did you get buy-in from the team at Fuqua? Because I think a lot of us in this call are so hungry to do awesome stuff here, but we also feel like, hey, we're working in this environment where sometimes it's hard to change things up. What was your experience like, Michael?
I learned it on Thursday and I had no knowledge of AI before. I worked on it on Friday afternoon for 4 hours and I came up with the classical music bot. And then every single on Tuesday for an hour and Fridays for an hour, I just started working on it for the past few months and I came up with a portfolio. And then I shared it with my students. And then my manager wanted me to share it with everyone in the CMC, so I shared it with everyone in the CMC, and everyone loved it. But what I found is that there's this huge inertia to actually do something with the knowledge that they've gained. And so people just love when I show them this stuff and they get all excited. But then you ask them like a week later, do you have any questions for me? Do you need any help on doing like it's crickets?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
if you do something, you know, I think people are just going to be amazed because like there's just so much inertia.
yeah. And I do feel like what you're doing, Michael, is also like sort of taking the appropriate amount of risk. Like you're not, taking all of this, super private data because it's already on LinkedIn to begin with. But
Right.
instead, you're just making it easier for students. I know you work with so many international students to feel like networking, finding the right alum doesn't have to feel like such drudgery. It can actually feel relatively frictionless. So I love that. Okay, there was one last question that I'd say for the end. I think this is the perfect question to end on. And JP Michelle had asked, can you please tell us a story of a student using this tool on their own? Because I think that's the ultimate sort of promised land moment is we can build all the tools we want, but if it's not making a difference in a student's life, who cares? So what have you seen so far, Michael?
So I can just show you the stats. So I can
Yeah.
share with you the stats. So let me just
Oh, sure.
share
Yeah, go
with
for it.
you the stats of people. Okay, let me get this, and then let me go to share. Okay, okay, let me share. All right. Okay. So you can see like, okay, the MQM advisor, 60 plus students have used the question to ask during an informational interview, 40 students have used um, the MQM alumni connector, which you just put in the company name and or role, and it'll give you a list of the alums and their LinkedIn profile and their current job and their previous roles. Over 100 have used. For the career advisor, I don't know what job, over 50 students have used. And the classical music, unfortunately, a mere 20 have used
But
that,
actually,
unfortunately.
this is super fascinating, Michael, because again, knowing students, knowing international students, a lot of them would say, hey, I don't want to talk to alumni. That's so scary. That freaks me out. The fact that that's your most popular tool, I think says something really important about making things more approachable that feel so deadly to our students. So
Right.
again, like I know there's probably a lot of stories behind the numbers, but just the fact that that's your biggest number, that's pretty interesting right there. Okay, maybe one last question, just because we have a little more time. Alan says, can you describe your alumni connector a bit more? Can you really access LinkedIn profiles as output?
Yeah, so for that, so my predecessor has this Google Sheet. And within this Google Sheet, let me see if I can share with you the Google Sheet. And I'll have to, let me pull up the Google Sheet. And so, um,
And
okay,
by the
so
way,
this
for
is
those
the
who are
Google.
interested, and if it's okay with you, Michael, I will share some of those links in the
Okay,
follow-up email with the
excellent.
recording and everything. So
Yes,
that way, if folks want to go deeper, because you've built tools for pretty much every part of the journey.
right. And so my predecessor built this spreadsheet where she put in, every single alum starting from the class of 2018, which was the first class, and she updates this every year. So it has their name, their LinkedIn profile, their current employer, their current title, and then also their previous employers and previous titles, their location, their class, and their LinkedIn profile. And so we go through this every year and manually update this. And so we just add to this. And so this is the knowledge file that we actually have, which we put into the custom chat GPT as a knowledge file. So it just scans this list and provides the output from this particular file. I'm not sure how to go through LinkedIn and actually scan LinkedIn using that as the knowledge file. There may be a way, I'm just not sure.
Yeah. Maybe that's a good place to end. So I'm going to show you a crazy hack before we go, just because I'm a huge LinkedIn nerd. So what I want to show you is that if you actually want to scrape that data out of LinkedIn, because I know it's kind of a pain to get it out of your system, especially if it's outdated. Let me show you this tool. So let's say we look for Fuqua MQM. So we're going to look for everyone who's got that somewhere on their profile. And sure enough, we've got 138 results. And again, you've only been in business for a couple of years, so that's fine. What I do is I come over to this other thing called Apollo. I know I've been sharing this with folks recently. The link is apollo.io, and it's a free little tool that integrates right into Google Chrome. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say, let's grab all these contacts, including their company, their job title, their email, all that good stuff. And we just say, we're going to add them to a list. And once I put them on my list, so in this case, Fuqua MQM, I can create list and add. And I'm getting all this data right out of LinkedIn, and you can go right through it. You say, hey, let's move to the next one. Let's grab the next 10. It'll take you maybe 10, 20 minutes, depending on the size of your program. But now you have the current data about your alumni, which you can then use to help your next generation of students follow in their footsteps. How does that sound, Michael? Oop,
That
did you?
sounds great. That sounds awesome. I didn't know about this tool.
Yeah,
I
you're
learned
like,
something
why you been
today.
holding out on me, Jeremy? Well, in any case, I got to tell you all, Michael has blown my mind, and that's saying something because I thought I was an AI nerd, and then Michael came in and built all this stuff. So please do me a huge favor. Give so much love to Michael, not just for what he's been doing for his students, but the fact that he wanted to share it with you all, certainly on his own time. So give a ton of love to Michael. And then, Michael, is it okay if I share your LinkedIn profile if people want to reach out with
Of course,
questions
yeah,
or
that'd be great.
yeah.
I
So
can
here,
share. I can share. I'll give you like I'll give you a few of my favorite what is it? My favorite custom chat GPTs that you could look at.
yeah, that's amazing. Because here's what happened. Michael and I were sitting out in Mountain View, California, where I live, because Michael's sister lives out here and he was visiting her. And Michael said, "Hey, I want more coaches to have these skills. Like, I feel like this is super useful for our toolkit of the 21st century." And I was like, "Hey, I happen to be slightly obsessed with webinars. Let's team up." And the rest is history. So thanks for all your generosity, Michael. And I just encourage everyone out there, I know this world is a little scary and it's changing fast, but I do think that in some ways, we've got this incredible power at our fingertips that didn't exist a couple years ago to build our own tools, to guide our students' destinies. And I think what could a coach want more than to have that magic power at our fingertips to really help the next generation? So thanks for all that you do. Thanks to our incredible volunteer, Lauren, and to everyone that came out. And I'll send all those links right after the session to get you rolling. But again, thank you so much, Michael. And thank you all. Here's to an amazing 2025.
Thank you for coming.